of time that changes him, that hardens him, that drives him. But I think what it comes down to, more than anything else, is fear. Cold, hard, stinking fear. Fear that when he dies, he will leave without his mark on the world. Fear of never having touched lives. A man wants to be remembered. It is what says that he had character, that he had value. And it is that same fear that can be absolutely paralyzing. It's that fear that tells him that his hot dog stand is a mistake when he knows in his heart that he makes the greatest hot dogs in the country. So he sits at his desk waiting for the moment when he's got just enough in his bank account to do something absolutely stupid with his life, justifying his lack of action with any number of reasons. Mortgage payments, car repairs, new telephone, luxuries, vacations, simple pleasures that need to be addressed today. It is the greatest dichotomy of life, to be so driven to succeed, and yet so grossly encumbered by fear that the notion of our deepest wants and desires become alien. Yes, fear is a survival response built into our being to protect us from harm. But it is when that fear prevents us from achieving our goals that it becomes truly poisonous. So we must embrace our fears to overcome them, to achieve greatness. And if that fear is justified in our minds by embarrassment, it is, as they say, the cost of entry.
Embrace me tight. Draw the shades and lock my door. Learn to live without the light. The bones have reversed themselves. The spider is alive again.
While there is significant historical precedence for entirely fictional artists extending back decades, I was personally first made aware of corporate, branded, sponsored music in the early 2000s. What caught my attention most was just how good the music was, and while it certainly wouldn't compare to Beethoven, in a vacuum, it could easily be confused for what one might refer to as legitimate music. But instead of songs about girls, they wrote about chicken fries. In some ways, it could be considered one of the first times I found myself actively engaging with truly corporate sponsored content. I would tell people how amazing it was that the marketing people at a fast food chain would do something so subversive as write rock songs that were not that bad. In retrospect, there was nothing truly subversive about parodying the rock world with the backing of a multi-billion-dollar corporation, even if it did feel like it because it happened to be a marketing strategy that appealed to my sensibilities. And so, we come to an age where, with enough time, research, and data, it's possible to find some marketing campaign that is effective on your average consumer. Even those who say they don't engage with advertisement or marketing. In an era of ad blockers and purposeful ignorance, advertising still continues to be highly effective. If it wasn't, it wouldn't remain a multi-billion-dollar industry that employs people across the gamut, from graphic designers to psychologists whose entire employment hinges on grinding down your psyche to buy things. If not today, then eventually. So, even if it may be an ad that we say we hate, we are still forming an opinion on it. We are engaged with it. Even if the stunt seems juvenile, at least we are talking about it. In some ways, while corporations have every right to release whatever vapid, soulless marketing ploy they choose, as long as nobody is injured by it, branded music does speak to the nature of advertising and just what a vital tool music can be. Even as video games reach the point of saturation, not everyone has engaged with the medium. On the other hand, nearly everybody has subsumed the entirety of popular music by way of cultural osmosis. So music has a power and virality that other mediums simply do not have. It can be much more readily consumed and shared than a film, book, or other form of media. Marketing agencies are keenly aware of this, which is undoubtedly why marketers are eager to weaponize it to sell hamburgers. And in a sense, it is that weaponization which makes it more effective than other forms of marketing. It allows itself to ingratiate a corporation within a culture that it has no associations to. It is allowing itself to align with that culture aesthetically for further brand reach without aligning itself with the ideology of that culture. Make no mistake though, it has absolutely nothing to do with culture and everything to do with selling you chicken fries. And that is perhaps what makes it the most potent and dangerous form of marketing. That it makes it relatable and humanizes it. It gives voice, thought, feeling, and emotion to this faceless entity. But the corporation has none of the aspects of personhood and is merely utilizing the perception as a sales tool. So it's perhaps the type of marketing that one should be the most cynical about, because it's the oral equivalent of telling people at the punk show to give you $15 because you're dressed just like them.
Here with my review of the Kanye West album Donda. Really been taking it in. I've listened to it like 1.5, 2 times. Pretty disappointed with the lack of hard mosh parts. No chug riffs, nothing really hard. Album artwork, incredible. 10 out of 10, probably the best album artwork I've ever seen. Reminds me of when Spotify isn't working in the inner rage that I feel when I can't stream songs and make sure that artists get their half of a 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 cent. Saying that, I would give Kanye West Donda 9.89 out of 10.
This is the HM2. You may know it as the Nails pedal. Nails was a band from Oxnard, California, who repopularized the pedal's use on their album On Silent Death. And while their first album, Obscene Humanity, was arguably the better release, not as many people know about that record. But anyway, the HM2 is often used by bands because it's known for its chainsaw tone. Now, I don't know about you, but the last thing I want when I'm playing my guitar is a chainsaw anywhere near it, so I guess that's why you use a pedal instead. It's also known as the Sunlight Studios sound, not because it sounds bright and sunny like a day at the beach, but because it was used a lot in the 90s at Sunlight Studios, which is a recording studio in either Sweden or Iceland or Poland, though probably not that last one. I mean, I don't know anybody from Poland. I guess Chainsaw is from Poland. But I don't know about any other bands from there. Maybe Vader, though not to be confused with Darth Vader from Star Wars. So, a lot of people who play guitar use the pedal, and not just people in metal bands. Some people are even real musicians. Apologies to everybody in metal bands, you're just not that talented. After all, it's why you use the HM2, to cover up your mistakes. And that's okay too. It's why pencils have erasers and directors have editors. Why, if it wasn't for the editor, this segment would have been an absolute travesty because it clearly had to be saved in editing. Po Buddy's Nerfect!
From its opening moments, a cult that worships the god of death feels a reverential homage to the frustratingly oblique caveman prog of artists like Newt or Keelhaul. Crushing with propulsive maximalism, tracks like The Act of Buying Groceries in Tennessee are densely packed, sludgy affairs. Even at their most indulgent, the band hits like an absolute sledgehammer, finding themselves equally as comfortable in lengthy post-hardcore missives. While the musicianship is flexible and serpentine, certainly no one could accuse the band of entertaining aimless navel-gazing. In some ways, Cult is closer to a primal, deconstructionist adaptation of Botch's We Are the Romans, as the band accentuates thumping riffs with spiky, dissonant punctuation. Grasshopper's thesis culminates in the record's self-titled track, an 8-minute instrumental megalith that feels a celebration of the band's collective influences. Though the record does retain a cohesive narrative through-line to its end, the second half of Cult is a much weightier and introspective experience, making for a comparatively thoughtful companion to its inaugural bombast. Though its final 3 tracks may feel too much of a departure from its electric A-side for some listeners, the Grasshopper Lies Heavy have created an unquestionable new standard in post-ironic heavy guitar music.
New fucking Kanye sucks. Zero riffs. Songs are trash. It's fucking about God and shit. You know, like we didn't already hear about that stuff in like the late 60s, whether you're either fucking on drugs or fucking worshiping Jesus. Changed his name to fucking Yee. He doesn't even have a fucking last name. How the fuck am I supposed to look him up in a fucking registry? Zero fucking riffs. Trash. Where's the shredding, dude? Where's the fucking off-kilter weird shit with, you know, all your stupid little weird fetishes and shit? Oh, that's the radio I'm looking for. I'll get that later. It's whatever, man. Fuck that shit. It's fucking trash.
Think about your favorite artist. Think about the ones you grew up loving. Think about the music that made you. Think about your favorite records. Were they a product of your own choosing? Were you the one who sat down with those records and said, this is what I'm going to base my life on now? Or did someone like me tell you what to listen to? Did you say to yourself, I'm going to find something that appeals to someone else, or I'm going to connect with this person based on their taste? Both are valid, but the interesting thing is how little control that we have over what we love in our lives. Most people think that they've developed their own taste over time. Most people think that their taste is a product of their own choice, their own decision. But the fact is that in a lot of circumstances, what we grow up loving, what we choose to love, is not of our own choosing. It winds up being a product of marketing and social conditioning. There is no control that we as individuals place that is higher than our external factor. We are not the makers of our own destiny. And so, sometimes you need to accept that you need to relinquish control of what you love and what makes you you. You need to release that control to someone else, because in the end, that choice was never yours to begin with.